What's up, everybody? You're back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach. We're hanging out with you guys. We appreciate you taking your time with us today. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Once we hit 500, we're giving away one free jersey to one of you lucky viewers out there. I don't care what kind of jersey it is. Coach doesn't care what kind of jersey it is. We're just, for the minimum benchmark, we're just willing to, give back to you guys. This is a show by the fans, for the fans. Tell your friends, tell your homies. Fantasy Football for Dummies series continues to roll on. Go check out our past videos if you haven't already watched those. Basic videos here for just any of you just absolute psychopaths like us that love football and just want every bit of it that you can get, but you've never played fantasy before. So this episode for you is, what is the flex position? What is a super flex? 2 quarterback leagues, how do those work? So let's go ahead and dive into that. So Coach, just basic definition, or I guess example for them, what is the flex spot in their lineup?
So normally in a roster, you have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense. And in a flex position, you're able to select either a tight end, a running back, or a wide receiver to fill that slot. So you, instead of just having 2 wide receivers on your team, you could potentially start 3, or you could start 3 running backs, or you could start 2 tight ends.
Now, it kind of depends on what type of league you're in as well. If it's a standard scoring league, so by that we mean no PPR, no points per reception, more likely than not, your flex spot is going to be a running back. Because that's just who has the value. But in a PPR, half-point PPR league, you're more than likely having a wide receiver, a high-volume tight end, or a high receiving volume running back in that flex spot.
And now there are strategies where you take a tight end in the 2nd or 3rd round, and then you take another one before the 5th round, and you try to fill up your flex with those 2 players because they don't ever, you'll see
For example, you take Sam Laporta and then turn around and also take Mark Andrews.
That would be and especially this year, you can get Mark Andrews in the 5th round for the first time in the last 5 years. I think that's a very bold strategy. It's a lot easier.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
I knew you were going to say that. But it's a lot easier to get another wide receiver, especially with how many wide receivers are going to have value and how undervalued some wide receivers are later in the draft. You're going to be able to get some veteran guys like Stephon Diggs as your 2nd or 3rd wide receiver that players aren't just jumping out for. And these are players that have had success throughout their career, but maybe the media hates them, or they've moved to a new team and nobody understands how they can provide value to that team. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Houston, so they're not sure if Stephon Diggs will have any value. Or Tank Dell. Nobody thinks Tank Dell's going to be able to do well, but he's going to have games where he puts up 10 to 15 to 20 points. And if that's the week that you put him in your flex, that's a phenomenal flex week.
Now, you also will dive into certain leagues to where you have a super flex. And that's where it also kind of becomes into the discussion of the 2 quarterback league as well.
Yes.
Most super flex leagues, a super flex allows you to have the traditional wide receiver, running back, tight end, but you can also put a quarterback in that spot as well. So you can have a 2nd quarterback. Most Superflex leagues and most Superflex teams start 2 quarterbacks. That's just where most of your points come from. At the end of the year, you will see mid-tier quarterbacks outscore top-tier positional players by a solid margin. That's just how it goes.
The other thing is there's a lot less risk. Quarterbacks that throw 3 interceptions and only have 100 yards passing isn't very common. But a wide receiver to get only 5 or 6 targets and only catch 3 of them for 40 yards, that happens all the time. It's very hard to predict what a wide receiver is going to do, whereas you know that your quarterback's going to get 10 to 20, maybe 25 points in a week, and they have the potential to get 30 a lot easier than it is for a wide receiver or running back to get those points.
Now, there are certain strategies I have done myself and I've seen other people do in a Superflex. When you're drafting, you might have this, of course, your quarterbacks are going to go early. But because of that, positional players will drop further than they should. And by having that super flex along with maybe just a traditional flex spot as well, if you do the strategy of just taking the top wide receiver and you're able to get out of that draft with somebody like a CD Lamb, AJ Brown, a Nico Collins, and turn around as well, and then I don't know, throw in like a Brandon Ayuk or somebody like that, and you have those 4 guys, that's going to help supplement if you waited on a quarterback a little bit and stuff like that you as well. That is also a bold strategy. It's not one we suggest. That one is kind of like if you're playing spades and you go ahead and say no books.
Yeah.
Like, you better buckle up your chin strap there, because you're putting something down. So like I love it. It's a fun strategy to work with, but it's difficult.
It's something that you can't decide before the draft happens. This is what I'm going to do. You more have to play off of what's happening. If 8 quarterbacks go in the first 2 rounds, then yeah, maybe it's time for you to start looking at other positions instead. But if there's only a few gone and the more value is taking a second quarterback in the 6th round over taking a 4th wide receiver, then you have to follow what the draft is dictating. You can't have this is what I'm doing. You have to be a little bit pliable.
Exactly, and that's where just draft strategies are going to come into that. If you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, you'll see those videos come out to where we dive into certain draft strategies for you. We're giving away these nuggets to try to help you guys out. We love you guys. 500 subscribers, we're going to go ahead and give away 1 free jersey to one of you lucky viewers. We appreciate you taking the time with us. We hope you take the time throughout the rest of the season as well. TulsiRoseTea.com is the sponsor. Peace out! And the show is over.